Okay, how you doing? I know what I'm doing. I'm wondering about when it's going to stop raining piss buckets outside. But at least it's not snowing, right? Said some sort of happy, optimistic goofball. God, I hate rain. Really do. Let's talk about studio strobes versus like these Godox 8200s, which I'm making videos about for the past 2 days. We're not going to talk about speedlights. Let's make a clear distinction and differentiation between a studio strobe, a location strobe, and a portable strobe. And there is some crossover there, obviously so, but I was reading an article today recently about this Godox 8200s and a lot of comments that I'd received over the past couple days, and there's a significant amount of ignorance in there. And people don't have a clear understanding, specifically also too about high-speed sync versus hypersync. I think most people have never heard of hypersync and how it is infinitely superior to high-speed sync. Let's talk about those Godox 8200s or not, but first off, let's state the obvious that I bought two of them for a reason. I'm incredibly happy with them. The reason I didn't buy them a year before now is because I've got way too much lighting equipment. They're not much bigger than a Speedlight. Their versatility is wonderful. I actually have those hip carriers, so I can actually clip it on my belt or actually put it on the lower part of a light stand, so it not only I don't require a weight or a sandbag necessarily unless I'm going to use some sort of large light mod like a softbox or an octobox, just like a beauty dish head or something else of a small size. They're also too handheld. I mean, it's wonderful. It is the split between a speedlight and a studio strobe, but people making comments about, then I don't care if you like Ellen Chrome or Broncolor or Profoto. Profoto and Broncolor are both, by the way, insanely overpriced. For a good studio setup for Broncolor, it'll cost you as much as a brand new car. But they are wonderful, but they're also huge and heavy, and those are definitely meant for the studio. They live there. These are called studio strobes for a reason. They have a lot of advantages over even those Godox 8200s. Let me very quickly get to that. And there is no replacement. I know people say in Europe, well, here in Europe or wherever else, South America, we can't get these. Actually, you can. You just can't get them directly. You can actually have a forwarding agency for purchase of these. And no, I'm not giving any lip to Paul C. Buff and their studio strobes. By the way, there's a Digibee 800 behind me. That's 320 watt seconds. Those 8200s are 200 watt seconds, which is more than enough. Like the Digibee 400 is 160 watt seconds, which is just a little bit less than the Godox 8200s at 200. This is an Einstein unit, 640 watt seconds of power. The White Lightning here in front of me, which they've been making for ages, oh my god, the 3200 is 1,320 watt seconds of power. That's nearly 6 times, actually it's, right, yeah, 6, yeah, right, yeah. Nearly 6.5 times more powerful than a Godox 8200. I had a brain fart there. I've had way too much coffee. Over 6 times as powerful as the Godox 8200s. Well, this is a huge, heavy unit. It's also infinite magnitudes more powerful. The notion of using the... Let's first talk about what those Godox 8200s cannot do. People say, oh, well, those are HSS. The first thing that I keep hearing, ignorant comments that I've gotten and read in other places is, people say, well, you know, those... Einstein and White Lightning units are not high-speed sync. The Godox will actually do TTL and high-speed sync. Here's something important that you apparently don't understand, is that in studio, you have complete and utter control over lighting. Everything is done manually. Power adjustments done manually. Professional photographers in studio do not give a single shit in hell about TTL. They don't. They want their control freaks, and rightfully so. They got a light meter. Even the Cyber Commander, which fits in your hot shoe of your camera, lets you control up to 16 units with the radio receiver on your Einstein or the Digibee units. Also has a light meter on the back. No professional photographer in a studio gives a crap about TTL photography. You have complete and utter control over the lighting. Very, very importantly, people have said that, and I read these comments everywhere all the time, including comments on my own channel that people say, well, you know, these professional studio strobes, whether it be Elechrome or Profoto has a new unit that does do HSS. These units don't have high-speed sync capability. Oh, you're right. They don't have TTL, which no professional photographer gives a shit about for using studio strobes. But there's something far, far superior to high-speed sync photography. That's called hypersync. You should spend like 20 minutes looking it up. Do a Google search, type in hypersync. Huge difference between HSS and hypersync. HSS, which you're finding in Speedlights and these Godox 8200 units, not that powerful. The reason being is that it's pulsed light from the power sources. So many times you could discharge and recharge the capacitor within a time period of the shutter travel on your camera. The pulsed light is so fast you actually can't see it. Of course, it's a lot faster than that. High-speed sync photography on the Speedlights and these Godox 8200 and 8600 and 8400 units. That's for portraiture at 15 feet or so maximum. That's perfectly fine. For fill light to shorten the dynamic range of say a portrait shot with the sun behind someone's shoulder, for example. Those Godox units, the 600 and the 8200s, even if you got 4 of them, is not enough for group photos, and it's not enough for sticking like a long throw parabolic reflector on and doing fill flash photography, say from 50 yards away. So who would do that? Well, I mean, a lot of people with 200mm f2 that want a decent field of view, don't want the studio strobe in the shots, they don't have to crop it, they need like 30 yards of throw. You're not going to get that out of a Godox unit, much less those 8200s. Hypersync photography, flash photography, like out of this white lightning unit, is nothing other than a huge bomb drop of light. Instead of pulse lighting, where it's very fast discharge and recharge the capacitor, there's just a huge fat burst of light, typically averaging about 1/300th of a second, which will cover, obviously, typical sync speed on cameras like this, 1/250th of a second, 1/125th of a second. People say, well, you know, these GFX cameras have only got a sync speed of 1/250th of a second, to which the professional photographer will say, who gives a shit? A, if it's something short distance, I could use the Godox for high-speed sync, but that's not very powerful. But if I need some serious power for group photos with medium format, which is a great use for medium format, by the way, okay, or for shooting somebody at distance, say with a 200mm f2, and you need to keep your strobe at least like 30 yards back or so, you need some serious power, hypersync is the only way to go. The fat pulse of light, which averages about 1/300th of a second, that's the average, will cover obviously anything on sync speeds of 1/125th of a second up to 1/4000th of a second. I mean, that is a huge 1/300th of a second pulse outburst at the higher speeds between actually 30 watt seconds and 600 or 800 watt seconds on the white lightning unit here, which is a lot of power, will cover absolutely any shutter speed on any camera. Now you do need a timing offset for that, but that's also wonderful. The Godox actually lets you do that. You actually have to use a Godox X1 trigger, set a timing offset, and you actually hook that to and I've got a video on that, you hook that to a pocket wizard, which sets off either one of this white lightning. The Einstein unit is IGBT controlled studio strobe, so it does not have the opportunity to shoot in either HSS or in hypersync, nor do the Digibees, but the white lightning units do. Made a clear distinction between location shooting, and no one wants to drag obviously these huge studio strobes, and this is what you need to have pay a person to do, is to have yourself a little wheelie cart. You'll actually, down in Florida, the studio people actually hauling studio strobes out to the beachfront, which is downtown in Fort Myers. You always see somebody that's got a fetch-it person that's pulling a little wheelie wagon or a cart behind with a couple light stands, a studio strobe, and a power pack. The power packs are $240. To think that these Godox units are much less expensive is really a lie. This Digibee behind me is 320 bucks. 240 for the power pack. That's $560. That doesn't include a light stand or serious light mods. By the way, when it comes to serious ass light mods like huge ass octoboxes, which octoboxes are my favorite thing in the world. Got several of them behind me here. Octoboxes, softboxes, huge ass beauty dishes. Nothing that Godox makes is going to come within 1,000 miles. I don't care if it's Profoto, Elinchrom, Broncolor, or Pulse, but nothing that Godox makes comes within 1,000 miles of a huge ass octobox. This is kind of a small one too, a 47-inch one. This one behind me here, over my right shoulder. Let's just take the Godox 8200 for example. $300 for it, $50 for head extension, $20 for case, $50 roughly for light mods and light mods, some other stuff. $90 for the round head. So we're looking at $500, actually a little over $500. That's only $60 less than a 320 watt second Digibee, which has some insanely bright LED lighting. And a 240, and by the way, you'll not have to, and this is no diss on Godox, but it kind of is. You don't have to worry about reliability issues. You know, everything fails. Even studio strobes are fragile. You know, you drop over a big ass heavy studio strobe, there is a lot of circuit. I mean, have you ever picked up one of these white lightning units? Oh my god. And you ever taken one apart? I have. There is a crap load of stuff in these. I mean, they're just, it is literally 50 pounds of shit in a 20-pound bag. I mean, just cram full of electronics. But there is nothing in the world that Godox makes that will come within 1,000,000 miles of this. Nothing is as sexy and asking. Just look up hypersync. There's nothing as sexy and as useful as hypersync flash photography. It makes, when you do hypersync flash photography, it's like going from shooting micro four thirds to medium format. You're like, I'm not going back to that shit no more. Literally, when you use hypersync and see what the hell you could do with it and how much more powerful it is and useful it is, it makes high-speed sync flash photography look like bullshit by comparison. I mean that literally. The problem is timing. When it comes to hypersync, everything is about timing. I know one studio strobe company is working on a really powerful hypersync unit. I won't tell you who, but hopefully they'll drop that sometime soon. But I love Godox. I mean, what I've got? 4 Godox studio strobes, 6 of their triggers, 2 of the 8200s. Very, very happy. But I have no crazy-ass delusions about those being replacements for studio strobe, group photos. You want to illuminate the side of a building. You want to do some corporate shots and shoot the shady side of a building. I mean, or a large group photo. You forget about those 8200s. Love them to death, but that shit don't cut it. It's like, well, this stuff is heavy and big, and it needs power packs, and you need sandbags to weight them down. Yeah, you do, and you're being paid to do that. And if you're being paid decent money, you're going to pay somebody to schlep that crap around. You got your camera bag, pay some other doofus to haul around a little red wagon full of light stands, studio strobes, and power packs, and sandbags, and collapsible octoboxes and softboxes, because this big stuff that you want to bitch about all the time, especially, there's some hardcore Godox fanboys. I mean, I got a crap load of Godox stuff now, but there's no replacement of this stuff. Don't even begin to tell me. The studio strobes don't have TTL. Once again, let me please God say this again. There's not a single professional photographer that knows how to use a light meter and has intimately familiar with a studio strobe that gives a single shit in hell about TTL flash photography. They don't give a shit about it. They don't. They don't. They want absolute control over everything, and they don't give a shit about TTL. You just, why? No. That's putting control in the hands of stupid equipment. Doesn't matter how expensive the equipment is, it's all stupid crap. Doesn't matter how expensive it is. TTL is putting, and it's very, very useful for a lot, especially for event photography. You're not going to do manual flash for event photography, right? You're going to use a Speedlight. I shoot for like events, I shoot all manual. and TTL and a speedlight with exposure compensation. I see changing backgrounds or foregrounds. I'll change exposure compensation. You can see it, predict it, dial it in. It's wonderful. It's the best for wedding receptions, event photography. The right lighting for the right job, the right tool for the right job. But Godox fanboys, of which there are a lot of you out there, don't tell myself or other people putting postings or me that, yeah, I replaced all my... There's no replacement of this big shit. Your Godox unit, okay? It doesn't have hypersync. It don't have 1,300 watt-seconds of power. Yeah, that's a lot more. That's many magnitudes. It's just, there's no replacement. You're going to throw it like, you're going to throw... This is only a 47-inch octabox. You see this? You think that's big? It's not that big. Why don't you throw yourself an 80-inch... You even tried to throw a 27-inch octabox on that Godox 8200. I mean, it'll just snap it right in two like a saltine cracker. So don't give me that crap. It's like, I could do anything with my Godox. No, you could do most things, and I realized that. And that's the reason why I bought them. I got too much lighting equipment. I didn't buy them until now because it's just too much lighting equipment. But it is the perfect happy medium. Wonderful. Clip that sucker on my belt. Wow, the head extension with the 6-foot cable. Oh my God, that's just wonderful. I know exactly what the hell that lighting equipment is, but I have proper perspective, Proper perspective. Here's what it is. Those little sports cars? I've got one. It's got 2 seats, and it'll barely hold like a couple bags of grocery in the trunk. It's a little tiny car, and it's got its own use. It's like what a speedlight is. And these big studio strobes, they're kind of like a U-Haul truck, right? It's like nobody wants to drive a U-Haul truck around town, but you want to get shit done and moved, ain't nothing better than a big old truck, right? That's what a studio strobe is. Those 8200s are exactly like my Toyota RAV4. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's just perfect, and you can open up the back hatch and throw all sorts of crap in there. Yeah, that's exactly what those 8200s are. It's the happy medium. It's like a Toyota RAV4, a sports utility vehicle. It's halfway between a little midget sports car, which barely holds 2 people, beep beep, and a huge U-Haul truck. That's exactly what a Godox 8200 is. It's a Toyota RAV4. An all-purpose, do-it-all, well, do most things. Do most things, though. That's, accurate statement. Anyway, I digress. If you like these videos, please click the link below. Tell me how much you can't stand me or whatever makes you happy, Anything helps. Because, I can't even tell you how many emails I answered today. I think I've substituted my life for phone calls, emails, and comments. Phew, yeah, it feels that way sometimes. Actually, it feels that way most of the time. But I digress. Thank you. Peace out, Girl Scout. Uwidzimy się, do widzenia, aloha, hasta luego, all that crap.